if I had taken on that low paycheck, by now I would be in Dubai on a yacht. The rest is history. My whole family, like my parents, have invested in me having a better career, and they have been truly into me, you know, having security for my future. Therefore, it's really a hard decision for me to say I don't want to do this anymore. I'm letting them down. So hey, my name is Lucy, where we talk about self-love, self-development, self-improvement, intentional living, and mindfulness. If that's something that you enjoy, please do remember to subscribe to this channel. And if it's not your jam, I promise you, stick around, subscribe, and hopefully along the way there is something I could mention that may give you an impression or give you an idea to subscribe. So stick around. On today's video, we're going to be talking about making difficult decisions. So to be honest with you, I have been in situations whereby I've had to make those difficult decisions, and let me tell you a background of one of the biggest decisions that I ever made. So for me, one of the biggest and difficult decisions that I had to make was quitting my law career or my law journey to pursue YouTube and anything to do online and being a creator. Now that is one of the biggest decisions I've ever made till today. I've done different I've made other decisions, but this one was one of the most difficult ones that I had to make. So just a bit of a background, I do have a law degree. I went ahead and I did a legal practice course, and I also did Master of Masters. If you kind of like know about law, you know that's the route you have to take in order to become a solicitor. So I was en route to become a solicitor, and I decided to quit, and I made a decision that I'm going to start creating online and sort of be a creator here online. Now, making that decision is one of the hardest decisions ever, because remember, when you come from a culture that I come in, your family is invested in the career that you have to do. They have been rooting for you from a young age, because when you're growing up, your parents' pride is seeing you being successful in a somehow career, either pilot, a doctor, a lawyer, or I don't know, an accountant, all those kind of big jobs. But I made a decision to quit that. Now, you're watching this and saying, Lucy, why did you do that? I'll have a separate video where I talk about that, but that's one of the biggest decisions that I did. So I'm going to share with you some of the steps that I took, or some of the steps that you can take in order for you to make that big decision that you want to make without overthinking it. The first step in making a difficult decision is to define the decision and the problem clearly. This means taking time to identify the decision you need to make and understand why it is difficult. Ask yourself questions like, why am I finding this difficult? Why am I finding making this decision difficult? What am I trying to achieve? What are the pros and cons if I made this decision? This will make you gain a better understanding of the problem of the decision that you're trying to make. So you have already said, I'm finding it difficult to make this decision. So you have to first of all understand, why am I finding it difficult to make this decision? What are the pros and cons? What can I get out of this decision? Like actually sitting down into that particular thing that you want to decide. So for me, when it came to law, I had to sit down and say, why am I finding this difficult? I'm finding it difficult because my whole family, like my parents, have invested in me having a better career, and they have been truly into me, you know, having security for my future. Therefore, it's really a hard decision for me to say I don't want to do this anymore. I'm letting them down. But again, I weighed the pros and the cons, and I said I'm not going to be happy if I carry on doing this law career, but I'll be much more happier when I'm a creator. I'm happier when I speak freely and express freely than actually being in a situation whereby I have to deal with case loads, I have to deal with factual things, I have to write client letters, I have to sort of like do drafts, meetings, and all that kind of thing in order to help, you know, my client to win, you know, in case whether they're guilty or not, I have to fight for them. So it doesn't matter. And I was like, I don't think I have that fight in me, but I have a fight in me in order to be a creator. So I had to kind of like sit down and see why it's difficult, the pros and cons. That helped me in making my decision. Like, you have to sit with your own self. Step number 2 is to gather all the information. Gather every sort of information based on the decision that you're about to take. Once you have a clear understanding of the decision, it's important to gather as much information as possible. Everywhere you can find information, gather it. If it's information you're finding on Instagram, if it's information finding, you know, on TikTok, online, on Google, search, talk to people. Talking to people who have done that decision, or people who have done difficult decisions, or people who are, who have achieved things in something that you want to achieve or you want to go to, is also gathering information. So don't underestimate that part of gathering information. Gather as much information as you can to help you in making that decision, because this can help reduce anxiety about the unknown. When you're making a difficult decision, you're making a decision sometimes on something that is unknown, something that you're very uncertain about, and that's why it becomes a very difficult decision. When I was deciding to leave, for example, my law degree, and I was saying I'm going to become a creator and I want to create, I was not sure if I'll ever earn any income, anyone would ever watch my videos, or anyone would ever find any use and any value in any of the videos that I'm creating. But I say to myself that with all the information I've collected, I am now ready to make this decision. And I gave myself time. I said, if I don't see any results, any money, anything coming my way, then I can clearly look for something else. So I had to weigh up everything, gather all the information, watch a lot of YouTube videos of people who had made these big decisions. I've seen so many people living, being doctors and becoming, something else, or, get into a hobby, and that hobby becomes something really, really beautiful. So feed yourself with that information, consume that information, and probably that will help you with the decision that you want to make. Or probably not. You may end up just saying, no, this thing that I'm having is much better than what I thought I was going to get. Step number 3 is identify your values. Values are important and guiding principles that can help you make decisions that align with your beliefs and your priorities. I've had a whole video where I've talked about beliefs and priorities, and I'll just put it over here. You can go and watch it if you want to. It's really a great video to make you understand that. So take some time to understand your personal values and consider how they relate to the decision at hand. For example, if your values align with honesty and integrity, it may influence how you approach a difficult ethical decision. For example, I'll give you a very honest example that attaches to me as a person. When I was doing my legal practice course, there were cases that came through the door that when you read the case itself, it just definitely showed you that this person is not being as honest as they can, and in a way that they are lying on paper, but you still have to fight for them. Now, for me, I remember one time going to my senior sort of lawyer and saying to her, look, I've read this case, but to be fair with you, you and me both know that this is wrong, and are we going to take on this case? So I had to sort of think about my values and my integrity, whether we could sort of decide whether we can take on that case, and what not taking on that case could impact the person. Because I'm going out of knowing that this person is lying with me actually saying we are going to take on this case and we're going to fight for this person. So when you're caught up in making difficult decisions like that, think about your own values, think about your own self as a person, what you value the most, what do you think by going ahead and making that decision is going to impact yourself and also impact the other person on the other side. So at the end of the day, it's all about your values and what your beliefs are and priorities. Step number 4 is consider the consequences. So, for example, going back to the example that I just gave you, the consequence of us not going ahead and taking that case would mean that the person, the client that brought in that case will be disappointed, will be heartbroken, or will be really angry. You just never know. And also, on the other side, the consequence could be that we lose money on a client, we maybe get bad reputation, and anything could happen within that area. So you have to think about the consequence of the decision that you are trying to make. Because to be fair with you, every decision has a consequence, and it's important to consider them before making a choice. This includes the positive and the negative outcomes, such as the impact on your relationships in making this decision, your career, your financial situation. Take some time to think about the potential consequence of each option and how they align with your values and goals. You have to think about the consequence of making that decision. Now, going back to that case that I told you, and going back to my own personal sort of decision that I made, when I decided to quit law, the consequence of that meant that I had to start from scratch. I had to build myself. I had to educate myself. I had to sort of do other side jobs, of which I still do now. I still do part-time jobs, to finance me doing this whole YouTube, which couldn't have happened if I had to go ahead with my sort of law degree. By now I would be, you know, a solicitor. By now I would be taking on cases, working in a law firm, and probably working towards opening up my own law firm if that was the biggest, you know, ambition that I wanted to go for. And probably I might have been settled by now. But I sat down and I said, the consequences of me leaving my law degree and deciding to do my creator sort of situation, let's call it a situation, which one is much more better for me in the long run? And the decision just came down to being a creator. But the consequences of that has meant that I have to scramble through views, scramble through subscribers, ask you guys to subscribe, spread myself out on platforms, look for the latest trending thing, not so trending thing, what I have to let go of, what I have to bring in. I have to sort of work for my own self the hardest in order for me to build this. If I was in a law firm, I would, you know, working under senior solicitors, taking on cases, because when it comes to the law is already written down, and probably precedents are set and other things are said, but that's a whole kind of all this, you know, different discussion. It's not like me going through this whole YouTube thing and scrambling through everything. So I had to think about all those consequences in making a decision. So if you're torn between making a difficult decision, think about the consequences of you making that decision to your own self, to the relationships around you, to your own life, and, you know, your finances and anything else. Because when it comes to my finances, we are still struggling. If I had taken on that low paycheck, by now I would be in Dubai on a yacht. The rest is history. But yeah, you understand where I'm coming from, okay? So step number 5, considering everything else that we have talked about, is to go ahead and make a decision. After weighing all the factors and considering all the potential outcomes, it's now time to make that decision. Remember, there is no right or wrong answer when you're trying to make a decision. There is no right thing or wrong thing. It's just try and error. And it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to jump into something that you made a decision on and then it doesn't really work out the way you expected it to work out. But remember, trust yourself, trust your intuition, and you can always make adjustments along the way. As a creator, as me as a person, I've always thought, am I making a mistake? You know, I've made adjustments. I have done things that I never knew I would do. I've got out of my introverted state to become more of an extrovert kind of thing in order to make this thing sort of work. You know, I have made so many mistakes along the way. I have missed high peaks of my career that would have taken me, you know, to something bigger and greater along the way, but I have learned from those lessons and I'm still going hard. Hopefully we will make it, and I'll be telling you that me making that decision of leaving my sort of law degree, my law career, to get into creativity was the best thing ever, or not the best thing ever. So I am still 5 years down the road, or 5 years later, I am still on this channel and trying to build a career on this because of a decision I made. So if you're trying to get into, you know, making a decision and you're finding it difficult, is it a financial decision, is it sort of a relationship, is it anything that you're trying to make, go through these steps one by one in order to help you make that difficult decision. Because when you're making a difficult decision, plan it out like though you're making a financial budget, plan it out like though you're planning a trip to go somewhere else. Plan it out. The next and final step is to take action, and this is the hardest part ever, taking action on that difficult decision that you're trying to make. Making a decision is the first step, but taking action is what is going to move you forward from having that decision and actually achieving the thing that you want to achieve from making that decision. So after you have gone through everything and now you're making the decision, create a plan that is going to help you achieve that particular thing that you want to achieve through the decision that you have made. Remember that the decision making is an ongoing process. Like right now with the decision that I made, I'm still ongoing. It's still an ongoing process. I'm still creating. I'm still learning. So many things have come along the way. TikTok has been something that has come along the way. On top of that, we have got, you know, YouTube shorts. Things are coming along the way. I'm trying to pursue this thing as being a creator. I know I use this so much as an example, but I've brought you into my lot sort of stuff. But yeah, you get what I'm trying to say. And also, it's also important to reflect on your choices and learn from them. Sometimes you're going to make a decision that you thought was the best decision ever, but then it turns out to be one of the worst decisions, or it turns out to be not the very best decision. It is okay it is fine. You can always reflect back to help you when you're making other decisions and help you to make better decisions as well in the future. So to conclude everything that we have just talked about, making difficult decisions can be a daunting task. But with a clear process and some introspection, it's possible to make choices with confidence and clarity. Remember to take time to define the problem, gather information, identify your values, consider the consequences, make the decision and take action, because making decisions is a never good thing. You can look at a baby who they have given red or blue, and that baby is thinking about, should I take red or blue? If I take red, is it good? If I take blue, is it good? So in every day in our lives, we're always making decisions. We are making decisions constantly, every single minute. But there are some decisions that really require you to take a little bit of time and give much more attention. So hope this video has really helped you on steps in making difficult decisions. If this has really inspired you, please do share. Please leave down a comment and tell me if this has really been helpful, or you need a little bit more. Oh, I could have worded it, in a different way. I'm always open to your kind of like comments, changes and all that kind of thing, because this channel is where we become better. Self-love, self-growth, self-development. And if I am not becoming better by learning from you, then what am I preaching? Anyways, have a fantastic day and make the decision to follow this channel too. Bye-bye.